Well, hi there, and welcome along to another episode of Jump to It, brought to you by IrishRacing.com. I think it's fair to say this is one of more of the slightly subdued weekends on the racing front. We've been spoilt as of late, haven't we? The likes of Newmarket, Galway, Glorious, Goodwood. Nonetheless, there are winners to be found. And to find them, I'd like to bring in the team, of course, as always, of Stephen Harris and Vincent Finnigan. How are we doing, gentlemen? Stephen, kick off for you. I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks. How's things in sunny Surrey?
Well, we've been holding the fort, Ed, while you've been having your third holiday of the year. You're grafting away like Vincent and I, like coal miners peering up out of the pit to see that you've returned from your festivities. We've recovered from the excitement of the Racing League last night, Ed, and we're cracking on with that other extravaganza at the Shergar Cup this weekend. But no, the race, it's incredibly busy time for punters. It's tough to stay on top of it all, but hopefully we found a few winners to keep things ticking over.
Yeah, hopefully we have. And Vincent, hi to you again. I said the racing was slightly subdued. Not on the Irish front, though. Let's be fair here. We've got some group action, and of course, the big one on Saturday at 4:15, the Group 1 Phoenix Stakes. As far as two-year-old contests go, this looks an absolute belter.
Oh, one of the best races we're going to see for a while, I think. Yeah, there'll definitely be some classic winners coming out of this somewhere next season. The other thing to note is the Curragh this weekend. They've got a great package for people who want to go there. It's only 25 quid to go. You get your admission, you get a race card, you get a barbecue burger, however good that is, and a £10 bet, all for €25. So that's some going to see a cracking Group 1 contest on Saturday.
Well, you sold it to me just on the word of barbecue and burger. That's two words, I suppose. But yeah, that's good enough for me, it has to be said. But as you say, the Curragh, good incentive there. A lot of people on social media are quite excited about that, especially when you contextualise a lot of the, how should we say, emissions for some of the other courses, especially in the GB, for €25 all in for that package to see group action. Cannot be sniffed at, can it? So, as I said, some pretty good stuff in Ireland we're going to be touched upon now. So let's crack on with it. Let's have a look at our races of the week. Well, we're going to save the best till last. We're going to park the action at the Curragh into a minute. We're going to kick off with Haydock in 3 o'clock. Is, of course, the Rose of Lancaster Stakes Group 3 action on your cards. 10 runners declared for this assignment over the extended 10 furlongs. Stephen, I'll come to you with this one. Grocer Jack is an individual who won last time out, representing that red-hot combination of Marquand and Haggis. Do you see this 5-year-old following up?
I think this is a harder task than the race he won at Newbury the other day. He was very well back there and got the job done. I don't think 5-2 is any bargain, but to be honest, William Haggis has had 13 winners in the last fortnight at 30% strike rate. And I think for most of the season, he's running at sort of above 25%. Absolutely brilliant placing. He's got some lovely horses, of course, but how he placed them is fantastic. I thought Grocer Jack, who's actually shortened up, not even 5-2 anymore, looking under 2-1 now. I think that's very short. The one I like is Completely Exposed, a 7-year-old, which goes against the grain in these kind of races, but Intelligent has been running really well all summer, like so many of Jane Chapple-Hyam's horses. I mean, she's got operating on a much smaller scale to Haggis, but she's actually had 4 winners from her last 12 runners. They are flying. And Intelligent, who was 40-1 at the Royal meeting in that huge field handicap, ran an absolute screamer there. He actually went bananas onto the way to post and took about 5 minutes to get in the stalls, but ran a screamer. And then last time out at York, beg your pardon, Intelligent ran another very, very good race. Ended up in a pole position too far back and finished like a train. Absolutely thriving at the minute. We were just talking off air, weren't we, Ed, about the ground at Haydock. It's dried out already. It was soft earlier in the week. It's now good to soft. The weather forecast looks set fair. So I think we're going to have good ground. If there was still a bit of overwatering and juice in the ground, which wouldn't be the most unusual event at Haydock, then Intelligent has got plenty of form in France going back a year or so on soft ground. So might be more versatile with regard to that than some of these rivals. But overall, I thought sort of 5 or 6-1 Intelligent each way, bound to give his running, should go really close.
Yeah, indeed. Intelligent. Jane Chapple-Hyam team, as you mentioned, in great form at the moment. Of course, Saffron Beach winning Group 1 honours over in France in the week. Vincent, for you, is this one you'd like to get involved with?
I personally think the favourite is probably a bit of value, to be honest with you. I think the favourite should win. It's got some very good form overall, ex-German horse and that. The other thing for me with this is that the one that Stephen tips up here, Intelligent, it was 3/4 of a length behind the top horse and Matt the last day, but it's £2 better off. So there shouldn't be a whole lot between the pair of them. That's the first thing to note. The other one is we've got a horse in here, Fox's Tails, won the race last year, but that was on very heavy ground. There were a lot of non-runners in this race last year as well, withdrawals on the day. Another one that probably wants soft ground is Brentford Hope. They're trying first-time cheek pieces here on the Richard Hughes horse. This looked a star when it made its debut back as a 2-year-old. Looked like it was going to be a Guineas horse and everything, but they've obviously had problems with the horse. Didn't run too bad here the last day in the Newton Cup. Just looked like it didn't stay the trip. It definitely wants soft ground, so there's a bit of soft in the official ground at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised to see that run well at a very big price, but I can't see it winning. And another one here that might be interesting is Peter the Great. It's a front runner. It's after winning its last two when they put on blinkers. Blinkers on again for the third time. You could see a good run again there. But in my opinion anyway, I think Grocer Jack is very hard to beat.
Indeed. Split on the panel reviews here. I'm fencing him with this one. I thought, yeah, we got Anmat, Grocer Jack, Royal Champion, Peter the Great, Passion and Glory, loads of last time out winners, and then not mentioning some of the others, as Stephen has touched upon, the likes of Intelligent, which bring real rock solid handicap form to the table. So too trappy for me. I'm happy to swerve that one, and that is the 3 o'clock at Haydock, the Group 3 Rose of Lancaster Stakes. We're going to move over to Newmarket now for the 340, the Juice and Sweet Solera Stakes over the 7 furlongs. Here we go for the fillies, the 2-year-olds. Again, whole host of unexposed sorts in here, as you would expect. Stephen, do you have a strong view on this encounter?
No, I think this is a hard race to assess. Obviously, they're all unexposed and open to improvement. The only one I thought at around 7-1, who looked a little bit overpriced, was Al Sayoub of Ismail Mohammed. Now, this is another small trainer, not got many horses. Had 2 winners from his last 11 runners in the last fortnight. And El Sayoud, over this course and distance on debut, was back from 14-1 into 9, made all the running, looked sure to get swamped at halfway, coming under pressure, but kept pulling out more and really battled tenaciously, showing a really good attitude. The second's been beaten since, but the third has come out and won, so there's a little bit of depth to the form. And I suspect if Al Sayoub was trained by a Gosden or a Stout, then she might be quite a lot shorter than 7 or 8-1 for this race, because she could improve quite dramatically for that first run. She's done it at the track. She likes fast ground. I'd imagine unless Prosser over waters, it's going to be good fast ground at Newmarket, and she could take a bit of passing. I quite like horses who've got a good attitude first time out despite inexperience. That she could keep on improving, hopefully.
Indeed. Vincent, and this looks fairly wide open from my point of view. Lakota Sioux, just about favourite at the time of recording on the basis of a third place running in the Chesham Stakes Royal Ascot. Do you see it as wide open, or do you think there's one in here who could really spring forward?
I think there might be a value bet in here, is Ivory Madonna. Stepping up and trip is the key here. Ivory Madonna was third in the Albany over 6 furlongs at Royal Ascot, nearest at the finish. Then ran in a maiden the last day, again over 6 furlongs at Newmarket and staying on. Still a maiden, so you'd like to see the horse in front at some stage, but she's definitely got a chance. I think she's a bit of an each-way play here, because the one you mentioned, Lakota Sioux, although it ran well in Ascot and the Chesham, it did swish its tail all the way through that race. That's not a good trait. That's the first thing. Then you've got the other one in here is Novakai. When it ran in Doncaster on debut, it unseated its rider before the start, had to wear a hood to the start. You just question the attitude there as well. So overall, I think this is a trappy little race, but Ivory Madonna, I'd be surprised if it doesn't improve with the step up to 7. That's the one for me anyway, certainly from an each way point of view.
Indeed. Best price 11-2 at the time of recording. Derby winning jockey Richard Kingscote taking the ride there on Ivory Madonna. Right, in terms of the GB action, that's pretty much all we're going to cover, but we are going to get stuck in to what is a pretty good fare at the Curragh, it has to be said, starting with the 3:15, of course, Group 3 contest over the 6 furlongs here for this Sprint Stakes. I'm looking forward to this one, Vincent. This is, again, looks fairly wide open, at least the betting would suggest it's fairly wide open. Go Bears Go has been an old friend of mine in Group 3 company, has to be taken seriously. He's fine for favouritism with Castle Star. And then you go through the rest up to double figures. Some interesting horses here. I mean, where do you start with this one, Vincent?
Well, I think that the first thing is it's going to be good ground. Stalls are in the centre, and they're racing the stand side track for anyone who's interested in that. So we're due a good weekend weather-wise, so it's probably is going to be good ground and be quick enough. So that should suit most of them here. I can't see it being a major problem. Go Bears Go has loads of form here already. Won the Railway Stakes last June when it beat Castle Star by a length and a quarter that time. The pair of them have had a few encounters back in the day as 2-year-olds, and there wasn't much between them. I inclined to think here that Castle Star could be a bit of value here, depending. The only thing with Castle Star is it's only had one run this season and it wasn't a great start. So you'd like to think it's going to improve a bit from that. It'll need to, is the first thing. The other one here that has a chance is the other Hugo Palmer raider coming from England. There's 3 English ones in this, I think. We've got Dubai Legend, Hugo Palmer's got Shane Foley booked, and Shane Foley's riding out of his skin over here. Loads of winners for Jessica Harrington in the last number of weeks. Plenty of winners. It even had a hat-trick in Galway, I think, on the first day. This was only a head behind Go Bears Go the last day in the Hackwood Stakes at Newbury on the 16th of July. Gets £3 as well. I think Dubai Legend, chance it's unexposed over the trip. It's an interesting race, this. The horse in it, Gustava Weston, up the top, won this race twice in the last 3 years, but they were both on soft ground. All its form is soft ground, so unlikely to see that again. So for me, I think Castle Star, if there's money for Castle Star, it's well fancied. I'd expect that to be thereabouts. It definitely has really good form with Go Bears Go, but Go Bears Go is the one they're all going to have to beat.
Yeah, indeed. It's a really good encounter. I was interested by Sacred Bridge in here for Ger Lions, just 1 from 1 over the C&D. Stephen, a race you're getting involved in?
Probably not. I don't think it's got a great shape for punters. I agree with you about Sacred Bridge, though. Although she's got about £10 to find on official ratings, she's quite a hard puller, and she's won her only start at the Curragh, as you say. I thought last time out, I'm not saying it was jockey error. She sort of travelled all over them at a short price in a lesser race and didn't quite see things out when finally asked for her effort in the last 100 yards. I mean, if you stopped the race at the furlong pole, you thought Colin Keane had them all absolutely stone cold, but she didn't quite go through with it. Now, maybe in this better race, a stronger pace, she'll settle for the first time this season, and maybe she'll see things out better on good, fast ground if that's what we're going to get. So I thought she was the one who was overpriced. The only thing I'll say about Go Bears Go, he's only won one race this season. That was a 4-runner race at Ascot, where he had everything pan out ideally for him. I'm not sure he's quite worth, he's top of the ratings here, whether he's quite worth that inflated rating, we'll see. This is a hard race to compare all the form lines, but I thought looking at them that Sacred Bridge was probably the one who was overpriced.
Yeah, indeed. It's definitely a fascinating encounter. Again, I say just tentatively with Sacred Bridge along with you there, Stephen. But yeah, lots of chances in that one. Wouldn't be surprised whatever happens there. Now, the 4:15 at the Curragh. 6 runners going to post for the Group 1 Phoenix Stakes. This really is top class, as you would expect. 5 of the 6 runners, Vincent, all won last time out. Multiple winners in here. Unbeaten records on the line as well. This is everything you'd want in a Group 1 on a Saturday, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, cracking contest. The first thing to note here, talking about ratings for horses, I'm very surprised with the rating that Blackbeard has here. It comes out as top rated at the moment with a rating of 115. Basically, it's a wrong figure, in my opinion. Anyway, it's a wrong figure. It's based on the French have given it a 115 for winning in Chantilly the last day in the Group 2, where it beat the Antarctic by 3 lengths. The Antarctic has obviously won since. But when you go through it, you look at Blackbeard on a 115 and you see a horse like Chartash is 106. You'd think Chartash has no chance of beating Blackbeard, yet it beat it the last day. So you've also got the likely favourite here is Bradsell. Bradsell, it has a pound to find on official figures with Blackbeard, yet it beat it 3 3/4 lengths in Royal Ascot. So there's no reason why Blackbeard will reverse form there. You've also got Blackbeard is supposed to have £5 in hand with Little Big Bear, yet Ryan Moore chooses Little Big Bear. So the rating is obviously wrong here for Blackbeard. So don't fall for that one is the first thing. Not to say the horse doesn't have a chance. Obviously, it has a good chance, but it's unlikely that it'll match up to that figure. It's probably the highest rated 2-year-old in Europe at the moment on that 115, which seems crazy stuff. This is a cracking contest, whatever way you look at it. And for me, I think Holly Doyle is going to do a Tom Marquand on this. Her husband came over here earlier in the year and rode his first winner in Ireland in a Group 1, and I think she's going to do the same. She hasn't ridden a winner in Ireland yet, to my knowledge anyway, and I think this Bradswell will win. Coventry Stakes winner, 9-length winner on debut at York. This is a very good horse. and it's had Blackbeard behind in Ascot. It had Persian Force a length and a half behind that day too. I struggle to see why it won't win, but obviously the Little Big Bear, you can't rule that out either. Ryan Moore choosing it, very impressive here over the course and distance the last day. So this is a cracking contest. You could give a chance to nearly them all, including the top horse, which wasn't too far behind Blackbeard and Chartage the last day, and that's a 66-1 chance. So this is a good contest.
Yeah, it really is. Stephen, I'd like to bring you in here. I mean, you're going to keep to the Royal Ascot form. I mean, Bradsell done very little wrong. Went to Royal Ascot, put in an impressive performance there. As we say, the form of that race is starting to work out pretty well. Big day for Holly Doyle and Archie Watson.
Yeah, I mean, that Coventry's brilliant form, isn't it? The second Persian Force come out and won. The third Royal Scotsman was incredibly impressive the other day, landing a huge gamble at Goodwood. Blackbeard's come out and franked the form since. It's just bomb-proof. The only thing I say about Bradson, I had a few quid on him in the Coventry after timing, but and he was impressive. But with Archie Watson, I tend to think his horses are fired up and ready first time out. If you think back over the last few seasons, I can't think of that many of them who've carried on improving gradually. They then become good 3-year-olds. They tend to be blasted, ready, gunned, and win first time out. And very often they don't progress. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be the case with Bradsell. He's done nothing wrong. His form's rock solid. The only thing against him is his price. He's around about 7-4. I actually thought that Persian Force, the way this race might be run, might be able to pick them all off later. It's a real shame, Ed, that this hasn't got 8 runners, because you could back Persian Force each way at around 5 or 6-1. I think it'd be a really, really good bet. He's a very strong stayer at this trip. Richard Hannon is a trainer whose horses carry on improving. He's got a length or two to find with the winner from the Royal Ascot form, and I think he might find it in this different sort of race. I'm nothing against Bradsell, but I think 7-4 and 5-1, the price disparity is too wide.
Yeah, it is fascinating, isn't it? I mean, the one horse we should touch upon a bit more detail, Vincent, would be Little Big Bear. As you say, forget the ratings, but we'll look at the booking of Ryan Moore for this horse, who's now racked up 3 on the bounce, including at the Curragh last time out in a really easy fashion in a Group 3. Hard to know where the ceiling of that horse's ability is. And also, going further forward, a lot of it is about the trip of these horses. You mentioned at the top of the show, get horses which are going to be classic performers. Some of these will only ever be sprinters and stay to 5 or 6 furlongs. It's fascinating to see the different paths they will take.
Yeah, the other thing here with Little Big Bear, like it's a Windsor Castle winner over 5 furlongs at Royal Ascot. Steps up the last day in the Anglesey Stakes, which was a Group 3 over 6. I think the form of that, it was a very impressive winner. It's 1 easy, fair enough, right? But the form is a little bit suspect. It had 2 horses 5 lengths odd behind, which were called Slán Awalya and Bad Bee. They both ran in a big sales race in Naas during the week, and they finished 12th and 13th. They were beaten 8.5 lengths in that. So if you were to take the pure form of that 5 length that they were beaten by Little Big Bear in the Anglesey Stakes, it'd mean Little Big Bear would have finished about 4th or 5th in that sales race at Naas during the week if you were to take that on a strict line of form. Just hard to know how good that is. Obviously, Aidan O'Brien, they know what they have. They generally have some really good 2-year-olds and some very good 3-year-olds. So you'd like to think that there are 2 horses here. They know Blackbeard is a fair yardstick. It's after winning in France the last day. It's not that far, I suppose, 3 3/4 lengths behind Bradsell in Ascot, and wasn't that far, obviously, behind Persian Force, who was only, 2 lengths in front of it that day. And yet Ryan Moore chooses Little Big Bear, so you'd have to take a Little Big Bear is a little bit better than Blackbeard, and if it's a little bit better than Blackbeard, it has to be involved here.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it's a fascinating encounter. Really looking forward to that one. And I suppose we will soon find out what happens. Very quickly, Stephen, anything at your favourite race meeting of the year, the Shergar Cup in Ascot, you getting stuck in?
Well, I've actually, Ed, I have got my 3 bets are all at Ascot in the Shergar Cup. Despite myself, I found some fairly big prices, hopefully. So we'll probably come on to those in a second. But, I mean, we were talking off air, weren't we, about the Racing League and the Shergar Cup. I do think the Shergar Cup has got some redeeming qualities. It is quite interesting to see all the jockeys from around the world riding their different styles and abilities. That is quite fascinating and refreshing. And at least it's real. I mean, nobody really cares who actually wins the competition, but that's bar to bar. But at least the racing is interesting. And as I say, you get to compare different skills and a range of abilities from around the world. The Racing League, for me, is a sort of contrived thing that nobody really cares about, apart from the people who are drawing wages for doing it. So, Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the Sugar Cup because I'm hoping I'm going to find a few winners.
Absolutely. On that really uplifting note, it's now time for our tips of the week. Right, come on, Stephen. You really are in full flow there. I cut you off. Ascot, your favourite meeting, Sugar Cup. Let's have your best bet.
Yeah, 3 bets, Ed, this weekend. 210 at Ascot, the sprint handicap. Count Dorsey for me, who's around 6 or 7 to 1. I think he's a sprinter coming to the buoy. And if you watch his run at Chester last time out, he finished 4th, but his saddle slipped after the start. And I thought, in the circumstances, it was a pretty remarkable run for him to get as close as he did. So I quite like him. He's a progressive performer when conditions are right. He needs fast ground and a strong pace. He's ridden by a jockey, Jose Luis Martinez, who I have to confess I have never heard of, but let's hope he can steer point and swoop late. My value angle selection runs at Ascot as well, 320. Pretty sweet. Now, she's from the George Bowie yard. I really like the stable. She's been hard to place, but I thought she ran a screamer in a listed contest last time out. This is a little bit easier. Hopefully, they'll go a really strong gallop. She's not a quickener, but she does stay well. I think she'll get a positive ride, and she should go closer to around 8 to 1. And my long shot, I know we take each other on here, Ed, unusually, in the 245. Make My Day. He's run his last 2 races over 2 mile 4. He hasn't stayed. So ignore those 2 duck eggs and his previous 2 placed efforts when he was second at Goodwood and over this course and distance. Pretty rock solid handicap form. He's been ignored because he looks like he's gone out of form, but I just think he's been a non-stayer. Back to 2 miles, fast ground, 16 to 1, should go really close.
Excellent. Look out for all those selections from Stephen then, of course. Don't forget to check out all Stephen's selections on bettingexpert.com as well. Right, Vincent, your best bets of the weekend, please, sir.
Yeah, they're all coming at the Curragh. 2 of them are in races we've already discussed. So I'm going to go with the nap is Bradzel with Holly Doyle. I think Holly will ride her first winner in Ireland. I'd be pretty sure that she's going to be thereabouts. It's a cracking contest. Just looks to me like there's a chance that they'll catch some of the Aidan O'Brien ones napping at this stage of the season. 2-year-old races. I think we're looking at a good Royal Ascot winner coming here in top form, and it'll be hard to beat. The other one then is in the earlier race we discussed, which is the Phoenix Sprint Stakes, which is Castle Star. I think it's a bit of value. That's the main thing. But having said that, I'd like to see a bit of money for it. So I'd like to see it less value, because if there's a few quid for this, I think it'll give Go Bears Go and the rest of them a bit to think about. It had very good form as a 2-year-old. It's obviously had some setbacks, but I'd take a chance that they have the horse right for this. And then the third one, I'm going for a long shot. That runs in the race in between the 2 of these, the 345 race. And long shot is trained in Ireland, obviously, and it ran in Galway the last day. Had a fair run in Galway. The only thing I think is it just didn't come up the hill over a mile in Galway. This is a mile again, but the horse has form over a mile. I think this is a slightly easier track. It ran here back in May when it was only beaten bits and pieces over the same course and distance, when they think the horse had a slight foot injury prior to that and had missed a bit of work. So there's a chance that Plunkett will run well at a decent price. Be surprised if it's not there or thereabouts.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Look out for all 3 Vincent selections there, including the Coventry Stakes winner as his nap. I'm kind of sticking to home shore, shall we say. I've gone to Haydock for 2 of my selections with White Beam, the Roger Charlton filly, on a hat-trick, on handicap debut marker 91. I think she's open to further improvement and should enjoy the drop back down to 7 furlongs. My value angle, Mr. McCann. Definitely want to note here, Tom Marcon been booked for the ride. Was out with the washing in the Britannia Stakes at Royal Ascot, but that was on unsuitably quick ground, and possibly the draw was against as well there. He's 1 from 1 at Haydock. Ground should be much more to his liking here, and he's dropped a few pounds in the handicap. And as I said, the services of Tom Marcon have been secured. I think we could easily see a big run from Mr. McCann. And yes, Stephen said the aforementioned Stayers handicap on Sugar Cup Day. I'm taking him on with the roughie of the field here, the max we can. Jamie Spencer on board for Mark Johnston. This individual, just look at the form figures recently, duck eggs all over the place. However, as a consequence, it's dropped a BHA rating of 92. That's now £4 lower than when last successful, and the horse is 1 from 1 on his only previous start over course of distance. So I thought it's the 40 to 1 outsider of the field. Expect him to be racing the ambulance with Jamie Spencer fingers crossed, come with a little bit of a late rattle. That pretty much concludes the tips of the week. Gentlemen, before we go, what are you up to, Vincent? You racing? Staying at home? Last time I spoke to you, mopping the floors. You had to go get some cleaning equipment or so. There's panic stations in the Finnigan household.
Yeah, no, that's all over now. She's home 5 weeks now, so we're all settled back down. I'm actually going meeting daughters this weekend. I haven't seen either of my two daughters for several weeks. They've both been away on holidays the last number of weeks, and they both live in Dublin, so we're going up to see the two of them. What's interesting is we tried to book a restaurant in Dublin on Saturday evening. It's nearly impossible to get one. So much for so-called increase in prices and recessions coming and everything else. You can't get a table in our restaurant for loving our money at the minute, but we got one in the end. It's a little bit out of the city, but we got one in the finish.
Fantastic. Well, enjoy your family and drink-fueled weekend there, Vincent. Stephen, yourself, you still round with your gardener? Have you got that all your petunias in order? Yeah?
Everything's sorted. We've got barbecues, cricket, and it's the first round of the FA Cup for Walton and Hersham, my local team. Might go and watch them at 3 o'clock on Saturday, but I'll be watching the Shergar Cup on my phone, hoping for some big prize winners. Ed, we need to find some big prize winners. We've got the gas bills will be landing in 3 months' time. You probably need to find a 20-1 chance once a week now to have any chance of paying for them. So let's just hope our form continues.
Yeah, that sounds realistic. Speaking of 3 months' time, it's 11 weeks today to the Cheltenham's October meeting. Not that I'm counting or anything, but yeah, I am counting. It's right behind me over there. But no, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your input. Enjoy your weekends. Best of luck with all your selections. Thank you for watching at home. And as I said, don't forget to check out all Stephen's selections on bettingexpert.com. And of course, all the latest news, views, and features on irishracing.com as well. Thanks for watching. Please do gamble responsibly. We'll do it all again next week. Bye for now.